Welcome to A Little Metaphysical, my segment where I talk about spiritual concepts and apply them to politics and the revolution. This first episode, we're going to be talking about radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is a spiritual term that is broken up into two parts: radical and the acceptance. The acceptance is the part that makes the most sense to most people. We understand what acceptance is. When there are things that come up in our reality, our ability to accept those things in our reality as they come allows us to be with them in a way that does not create suffering. Radical acceptance is the pairing of radical, which radical comes from the Latin word root, radis, which means to be of the root. And so when you take radical, which means to be of the root, and acceptance, and put them together, you get radical acceptance, which means to be of the root of acceptance. Now, what does this look like together? So, radical acceptance is when we understand that resistance causes suffering. When something comes up in our lives and we feel resistant to it, that creates internal conflict and internal tension and suffering between the ways that the world is and the ways that we want it to be. That internal suffering is what is painful. When we radically accept everything that comes into our lives in each and every moment, which is what radical acceptance is rooted in, it changes our internal relationship to whatever it is in our reality. This means that radical acceptance removes resistance from those things that come up in our lives, in our realities, that we would otherwise resist and have tension towards and suffering. So, to remove the resistance through radical acceptance of everything means that we can now change our relationship to whatever it is in our reality and respond to it, not react to it. Reacting comes from a place of fear, a place of lack, a place of hurt. Those are how we perpetuate hurt and violence that has befallen us before. And so, through the radical acceptance of that and meeting whatever it is in our reality is there, it means we can meet and be with it and then change our relationship in how we choose to respond to it. Now, what does this look like for us in politics and the revolution? One of the core parts of radical acceptance is to radically accept reality as it is. And that means we must be very clear about reality. Radical acceptance does not mean accepting the stories and the narratives that we tell ourselves in our heads about the way things are, about the way things should be, and these things that functionally keep us in cages. We end up becoming slaves to our narratives. And we must keep our narratives to be true in order to continue. That's our ego. So, when it comes to this, we must reckon with the fact that America is a fascist country. The government is an autocratic government that is consolidating power for billionaires, for politicians, for the ultra wealthy who already control large swaths of our society, economically and politically. We have to be able to accept that. That does not mean that we have to be okay with it or tolerate it, but we are no longer within this reactive dynamic between ourselves, our relationship to self, and the things in our reality. So we are able to radically accept the fact that America is this and has always been this. This has been the story of America since its founding. This has been the story of the Western world since before America even existed. The colonization of the Americas, the colonization of Africa, the colonization of the Pacific Islands, the Philippines, India, China. This is the story of colonization. It's the story of patriarchy. It's the story of white supremacy. It's the story of state violence and oppression. These are what we have to be able to radically accept in order to step into our true power. By radically accepting these long, deeply embedded systemic problems, we are able to change how we relate to them, and in a way that doesn't perpetuate these same systems of violence and oppression. This is what radical acceptance looks like. So we have to be able to reckon with this reality in a meaningful way. That's what it asks of us as well. Not only do we accept it, but we have to now reckon with it. What is our place in it? Where does my power exist within these systems? How can I step up? Take more responsibility for my life, for both the good and the bad parts of my life, and change that internal relationship I have to these parts through radical acceptance, to then step into a deeper sense of clarity, a deeper sense of trust, and into a greater sense of power and control, where you are now the conscious creator of your life. You're not stuck reacting to these things. You're not stuck in this loop that billionaires want you to be stuck in. Doom scrolling, self-pity, shame, guilt, self-loathing, all of these other things. It's asking us to step into a deeper and fuller version of ourselves. This is what radical acceptance does. And it's when you actually accept these very difficult parts of reality to accept. It's upon that acceptance that you now have the clarity to act from a mindful place. A place where you are not stuck in black or white thinking, all or nothing thinking. A place where you are not reacting out of fear, out of lack, out of shame, but from a fuller place, a heart-led place, with your mind. That is what it means to be a revolutionary. And I'm talking about a revolution of love. So, a better world is possible. And it takes all of us. We cannot afford to exclude people from this revolution. That does not mean we tolerate harm. That does not mean that we support violence. But it means acting from a clear, conscious place to create the reality that we want to see, to live the revolution into reality. Through radical acceptance, it becomes possible. But if we are neglecting parts of ourselves and rejecting parts of ourselves, that's not possible. When we reject parts of our reality, it fractures our reality even more. So, through radical acceptance,